Okay, so let's go over an example of a BAS calculation. See, I can get this out of the way here. Okay, so here's our situation. We have an 1,800 square foot house, 8-foot walls. Here's the house here. So each floor is 8 feet tall. There's 6 people living in here. We're in Delaware. Okay, so we run the blower door and we get this. We get a CFM. Okay, so based on this, and this is what you'll do as an auditor, what am I going to do? What's my recommendation to the homeowner in terms of ventilation requirements? So we're putting all this together. This is a very real scenario. Okay, so what do we need to do? So first of all, let's look at what our N factor is. So in this case, it's a what do you have? A 1.5 story home. We're in zone 2 because we're in Delaware. 1.5 story, where I would call this normal exposure. So about our N factor is 16.7. So let's just write down what we know. N is 16.7. Okay. We have our volume is 1,800 square feet times, so 1,800 times 8 feet walls. Okay, so that's going to give us 14,400 cubic feet. Okay, so that's our volume. So let's do our BAS calculation. So remember, our formula here is we have the BAS. Oops. So BAS is the greater of these two. So we have the number of people times 15 CFM, or our 0.35 ACH. Okay, so we're choosing between, we have 6 people, so 6 times 15. All right, so that's going to give us 90. So 90 CFM. Now remember our ACH calculation, and we'll actually have a sheet that we can work on this and just fill in the numbers. So our ACH calculation is ACH times the volume and then times, oh crap, times 1 hour 60 minutes. Okay, so that gives us, shoot, sorry about that. It's going to give us ACH is 0.35 times our volume is 14,400. Divide that by 60, and so that gives us 84 CFM. Okay, so we have 84 and 90, so remember we go with the higher of the two, so we're going to go 90. Okay, so that's our 90 CFM is our BAS. Okay, and so we can do we'll convert this to CFM 50. Okay, so remember this is our CFM natural, so CFM 50 is the CFM natural times your N factor. Okay, so this is going to be 90 CFM times our 16.7, which equals 1503. So that's our CFM 50. So this is our BAS. Now, the last little thing here, if you remember from this chart, so what we're going to do is remember ASHRAE and BPI give us a little bit of leeway, so we can actually be down to 0.7 times the BAS. So our minimum, our true minimum is 0.7 times the 1503. Okay? So if you multiply that out, it's actually 1052 0.1. So that's our true minimum. So that's our 0.7. So in other words, if it's less than this, okay, that means it's ventilation required, right? So if you go up to the top here, if it's less than the 0.7, okay, less than 0.7, that means we require it. In other words, it's too tight. We need to ventilate, right? Now let's look at our number. What's our number? We have 1500 CFM. So our 1500 CFM is actually almost exactly at the BAS, the 0.35. So actually our minimum is, actually it's at the 90 CFM. So at 1500, okay, so at 1500 CFM, we are fine. So in other words, we are here. We're right, we're right about here. We're actually a little bit on the other side of the BAS. Okay, so we're actually right here. So we're okay. If we were just a hair less, let's say we were at, say 1400. Okay, so if we were at 1400 CFM 50, then we'd actually be in this range because we're less than 1500. So in this case, this is 1500, and this is your 1052. So at 1400, we're in between here, which means we need to recommend, okay, so if we are at 1400 or anywhere between 1500 and 1052, we would recommend mechanical ventilation. But in this case, we're not, so we're actually okay. So if this was the house that we're auditing, we say, you're almost at the level where you might want to think about some ventilation, but you're probably going to be okay. Okay? So that's a sample calculation. So let's look at actually a form that we have that we're going to use on our audits that you can fill in. So here's the form that you'll have, okay? So this is all laid out for you. You don't have to do all that messy calculating, or at least remember them. So our ventilation required, so our BAS, our standard here is 0.35. Okay, so times the volume divided by 60. So in this case, it's, remember, 14,400 divided by 60, and that was where we got our 84. Or the number of people times 15. So in this case, it was 6, which gave us our 90 CFM. See how much easier this is? So the higher of these two is 90, right? So we enter that in here. So this is to calculate our CFM 50 minimum. Okay, it's going to be airflow times the N factor. In this case, our N factor was 16.7. Okay, so our BAS is 1503 CFM at CFM 50. And so if you take your CFM 50 and then you multiply times 0.7, right? So that's right here. So BAS times 0.7, okay, if you remember, was about 1052. Okay, so our BAS range, so this is that inequality from your ventilation decision. So basically, this is your recommendation range. So 1052 to 1503. So if we get our blower door, okay, so we get a CFM 50, right? So if it's between 1052 and 1503, remember in here is recommend ventilation. If we're down here below 1052, that means we require. This is really important. It's required for safety purposes. Okay? And if we're anywhere above here, no recommendation. Okay? Okay, so there's an example. This is the sheet that you'll have in your audit form.